You're not getting any younger, so
what are you waiting for?
Hey you! Yes, you! Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready? For a very long time, I convinced myself that I wasn't good enough to find love. That I was too busy, too career-driven, too old, too messy, too stuck in my ways, too stubborn, too picky, too blah. When people asked me why I was still single, I'd smile wide, raise my eyebrows high, and proclaim that I had no idea why. But really, deep down, it was because I believed I wasn't worthy enough. I dated the very wrong people. I held on to the very wrong relationships. I deemed myself forever single and always a bridesmaid, never you know how that one goes. But it wasn't true. It was all just a cop-out for what was really going on. I was scared of love. I was scared of losing independence. I was scared of finding a person who loved the nitty-gritty of who I was because I wasn't even sure if I loved all of that yet myself. Today's guest has a message that shook me to my core, that made me stop saying, Jen, you're not smart enough or pretty enough, you don't deserve this and you don't deserve that. I hope she'll do the same for you. Meet Laurie Davis Edwards. She entered the online dating world before it was cool to enter the online dating world. And because of that, she started the badass company called eFlirt to help others go on more amazing first dates and find their right matches. She bottled up her knowledge and wrote the book Love at First Click, which is the ultimate Bible for online dating. And now she's the founder of The Worthy One, a coaching experience designed to empower you to get clarity in your love life and attract the right person for you. I'm so excited to welcome Laurie to the show. I have so much to talk to you about, but I want to start sort of at the beginning. I read a really cool fun fact about you that you started your first online dating profile in 2001.
Yeah.
What were you doing online then?
Oh my goodness. I was 19 and I was just so curious. So I was working at this startup and the founder was older and he was on JDate and he was like telling me all about I was his only employee. So he was telling me about all his JDates that he was going on. And I was like, why can't I do that? So I joined Match and then I joined Yahoo Personals and then I joined lots of other sites after that. And I don't know, but even before that, I was always kind of curious about relationships and especially relationships in relation to technology. I was always like meeting random guys in chat rooms and like things like that. So I think it was very natural for me to explore online dating so young, even though I literally could not tell my friends about it. I did once and she was like, oh my God, you're going to get killed in an alley. You know what I mean? And I was like, clearly I'm not going to tell anyone ever again because you're wrong and it's fine, but you have so much of a stigma against what I'm doing. So, yeah.
But I think that most people had a stigma against online dating until at least, like 2008-ish? 9?
Yeah, 2009, I think. It was around the time that I started my company that it really became mainstream.
What did people care about in terms of dating profiles in 2001? Was it the same kind of stuff or no?
It was so many cliches, and they still exist.
That's
the same. Like, you ever read a profile? Well, you probably don't read as many women's profiles as I have, but
I I've browsed a couple to see what I'm doing wrong, but yeah.
But a lot of women will say, like, I love to dress up, but I also love to hang on the couch. That was exactly the stuff that we said in 2001. I'm not even kidding. That's what my profile said. But it wasn't a cliche then. So it was like, I came up with this really cool line, you know?
Do you see people still using that kind of stuff now?
Yeah, I do. I think people say, I love to laugh. Like, doesn't everyone love to laugh? Like, if you don't love to laugh, I don't know that I want to be friends with you even.
Oh my God. You know, and I remember I did online dating for years, and as a writer, it was almost impossible to read bios because you're judging every single thing about it, you know? It
You're
was
like, they didn't use a comma there.
Right, or like they used like an adjective that was like so generic when it could have been another word. You become like an English teacher when you're dating. And it's crazy. I mean, obviously online dating doesn't have as much of a stigma anymore. It's almost like if you're not online dating, something's weird, you know? What advice do you have for people who are approaching online dating in 2018, whether it's for the first time or for the 18th time?
It's all about the photos. I mean, I know that everyone knows that, but it really, really is. And I have, with eFlirt, my first company, I have helped thousands of people write their profiles, like probably tens of thousands at this point. And there are maybe 24 that I've come across who really have all the right photos. So you need different photos. You don't know it, but you do. Yeah. And the important thing is to have about 5 to 7. That's the number that after all of our research we found works best. And you want to have a good mix. First, you want to be solo in all of them, even if you're like, but I want to show that I'm social. So then some of them should be cropped so that you're showing that you're in a social environment without it being showing your friends. Or you can show the social aspect by the background and the where you are in your photo, you know?
I don't think it's as obvious as you think, because I know a lot of people who are getting into online dating and their concern is, well, how do I get these pictures, right? Yeah. So I'm just going to set up a tripod and take it and it's going to be grainy and blurry, yep. Or I'll do a selfie, or I'll do like a mirror selfie, dare I say it, you know? Yes. So how can people get these pictures without having to hire a photographer and going on a cheesy photo shoot around the beach?
Use your friends. I think that's like the most untapped resource. We have such a hard time asking for help. And you're not really even asking for help. Like, I'm sure that your friends really want you to go on some awesome dates and to meet someone. So why not ask them? And you don't even need to tell them what the purpose is if you want to. You could just be out to dinner and be like, oh, hey, will you take a picture of me? I mean, they're not going to say no. Our friends want to help us. We always forget that.
What about for the actual bio? Do you think there's a lot of weight put into that? Is there something that people should always make sure that they... I know that's such a loaded question, but...
I wish that there were more weight put into it. I feel like a lot of people write nothing these days on apps. And you need to be writing a bio if you want to connect with quality people. You're not going to attract quality people if there's nothing for them to connect over other than you're hot.
Amen to that. I mean, I can't tell you how many guys I saw where they just put 3 random pictures of themselves. You didn't know anything about them. It was a complete guessing game. I personally didn't want to spend so much time going back and forth through messages. You kind of wanted a quick bio to know what you were getting yourselves into, but people aren't always writers. So in their defense, if they're not writers or they don't want to hire a writer, what can they do to put together a good 3 or 4 sentence bio? Like, what should they include?
Yeah, so you want to talk about interests, and especially interests that you might have in common with the right person. So I have a course that you can find on eflirtexpert.com called Write Your Best Profile. And one of the exercises I take you through is finding what those topics are, but like broad strokes, what you want to do is think about who you want to attract first and foremost, what you might have in common, and then think about grouping those things together in a way that makes sense so that you kind of quickly go through them.
That's such good advice. Honestly, I think what happens too is, I mean, I was on online dating for years and your stuff gets stale. I think that people should revamp their pictures and use your service for a new bio. How often should you be switching these things up, especially if you find yourself as a serial dater and you're on there for years?
Yeah. So your bio and your photos, you should be changing it a tiny bit, like tweaking every week.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's actually the sites and apps have algorithms, right? We know this. We don't know what they're very mysterious about their algorithms. But one of the things that we notice consistently on pretty much every platform is when you delete a photo, add a photo, it brings you back to the top of the search results. It keeps you like fresh in the bunch. So, and tweaking your bio a little bit can do the same. It's not as much of a ringer, if you will, for like deleting and adding a photo is definitely the way. But tweaking your bio is important too.
I actually had no idea about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at all.
I'm not suggesting you rewrite or you totally like revamp your photos. But for example, one of the things I suggest to my clients too is have 10 photos they really love. But like I said, you only need to upload 5 to 7 at a time. So you can easily just swap one out. Like
That's really good.
Really easy, anytime. It's in a folder on your phone or on your desktop, and it's just really easy to do.
I have a couple friends who they tell me all the time they're trying. They really are trying, and they just don't get any matches. Do you think it's something about their profile? Do you think it's something about their technique? Do you think it's just you don't really know what's going on?
It could be so many things. So it could be their profile, could be their bio. Another thing it could be is how they're swiping and their behaviors around swiping. I think we've become so judgmental in the way that we swipe and search. And you know, if you think about it, like online dating is kind of built for you to make judgments, unfortunately. I don't think that any of the sites or apps mean for it to be that way, but they don't know any other way for it to be. And so especially in places where you have kind of unlimited access, right? Like Bumble, Tinder, Match, you know, any of those larger platforms versus somewhere like Coffee Meets Bagel or eHarmony where the matches are limited. When you have unlimited matches, you could just go forever. And studies show that you don't want to spend more than 20 to 30 minutes at a time going through matches because the longer you search or swipe, the more judgmental you're becoming. So one of the little techniques that I give my clients, because I did a TED Talk on why you should say yes to maybe. It's really important for you to identify who the maybes are and message them. But I think right now, if we're like on the fence about someone, we're swiping left, you know? And so we're like, oh, I'm not sure, so no. But it should be, I'm not sure, so yes. So go slow, especially when you're swiping, because we tend to go so fast through. And really look at everything and then make a conscious choice. Yes, no, or maybe. And why? Like, tell yourself why. So that if the reason is why, because I don't seem to have anything in common with him, maybe that makes him a maybe. You know, maybe you decide that should make him a maybe instead. Or you identify yes and you tell yourself the reason why. And you're like, why? Because this is true. I had a client find that part of her yes was because she really liked when guys were talking about their emotions and like talking more about what they want. And that was really resonating with her. So she learned something about herself, right? So really make that choice, yes, no, maybe, and why before you move on to the next person, and go really slow. That could be a huge part of it, is that they're just making decisions way too fast and swiping no on maybes.
I heard you say somewhere, I don't know what you call it, but it was like would you have a margarita with this person?
Yes.
Like, what's that? What was that trick about? Because that was like so genius. It was really cool.
Yeah. So I think that often, especially women, we look at profiles and we're like, can I be with this guy? Can I be in a relationship with him? Like, I'm not sure. He has a cat. You know, we come up with these ridiculous things. Where if we met that guy in a bar, we would know he had a cat. We would like fall for him. And then it would be no big deal. So I think it's very easy for us to get like a million steps ahead and start to wonder about the future, where instead really all we're deciding is like, are they worth a margarita? Are they worth going and grabbing a drink with, or a coffee with? But I like the word margarita because it's just like also reminds you that it should be fun to date. And I think sometimes we forget the fun because we're so focused on the relationship that must happen now because it's been too long and I'm getting older. I'm not getting any younger, right? So, yeah, ask yourself first, if you're on a dating site and you're on a search screen, the first question you want to ask yourself is who's worth a click. Also, to remind you, all you're doing is just clicking on them right now. They don't need to be worth a margarita just by looking at a tiny photo. So first, are they worth a click? Then, are they worth a margarita?
It's so true. And to tell you how I met my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I hated dating. I hated online dating. And I said, I feel awkward on first dates. So I'm going to go on 14 first dates in a month. And what I did was I said yes to every single person who asked me out. I also had to ask people out myself, which was a game changer because I used to be so against that. I went on the 14 dates. I liked absolutely no one. I never wanted to see any of them again, but I said before I delete this app and go back into my state of misery, what's date 15? So I didn't even look at the guy's profile, didn't even read what he wrote. He just said to me, can I take you out for coffee? I said, sure. Met him for coffee. Fast forward 2 years, and we are living together.
Wow.
But I truly think that wouldn't have happened if I was so stuck in my, well, I don't do that, or I'm going to judge you based on that. What I also realized from that experiment were the guys I met in person, I was usually more attracted to them in person than I was in their pictures.
Yes.
And the guys where I was like, oh, in your picture, you look so fine. In person, I was like, there's no connection. Mm-hmm. So you sometimes don't even know like what you like or what you want.
It's so
you
true.
You really don't.
I mean, in this digital age, we're playing matchmaker to ourselves, which we've never really had to do to this extent before. And, you know, matchmakers have lots of criteria that they are given by their clients, but they go outside of that. They're like, oh, you say you want someone who's like 6 foot tall and that's like necessary for you, but I'm totally going to throw you some guys who are like 5'10" because you don't know what you're talking about. And so I think that's really important for us to remember, is that we need to go outside of our comfort zone a little bit too and just explore. Like, maybe you go out with that guy who's 5'10" and it's just weird for you, and that's okay. You know, then you've learned something about yourself, but push your own limits.
Do you think people can even verbally express what they want and don't want? Do you think people actually know?
Sometimes, I mean, no, I don't think that they really know. I think sometimes they think they know. And I think part of the reason they think they know is because, in a way, so we're playing matchmaker, but also these sites and apps are kind of forcing us to put limits on it, right? When you set up your filters, you're putting a limit on what age range are you open to and all of those things. So I think it's exacerbated the problem.
I have 2 questions from you that were sourced from the You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group. One's from a guy and one's from a girl. The guy's question was that he doesn't know what to do anymore because he's getting rejected so many times on online dating that he's feeling discouraged. What can a guy do to not feel so discouraged?
Mm-hmm. So first, remember, you're not being rejected. That's number one. Because nobody really knows you until they meet you. So they are not rejecting you. They're not rejecting the way you look. They're not rejecting your personality. They're literally just rejecting a message, right? That's it. They might be rejecting a million messages. So I prefer not to call it rejection at all. And I think it's better for you not to think about it as a rejection. I also will say that there are women also that write lots of messages that don't get responses to them. So this is not, I need this guy, especially because I think men have a huge fear of rejection. And I need him to know that he's not alone in it, and not just because there are other men who feel this way, but also because this is just how online dating works, period. It's what women experience too. So you're not being rejected at all. You're just In fact, Thomas, my husband, he's a relationship coach too, and he calls it being declined, right? So when he works with women too, but he works with like, I don't know, 85% men or something. And he always talks to them about how even when they feel like they are rejected, that they're just being declined. But when you're online, you're not even being declined. Someone's just not responding to a message. That's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, you can't take it personally, even though it is really hard when you are putting yourself out there and you're not getting any feedback.
And think about it with online, like that person might not even be an active user anymore. They might not be on the app or site any longer. They may have a boyfriend by now, right? They may be on vacation. Like they may have missed the notification. There's a million things that could happen with technology before we get to the reason is you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. The woman in the group asked that many of her close friends have graduate degrees and they like to travel. So they say that a lot of guys online are intimidated by those factors, and they, once again, use the word reject. Why do you think that is, and are they doing anything wrong?
Yeah, so I work with a ton of women who identify as successful women, right? Mm-hmm. Women who have amazing careers, amazing lifestyles, and they're like, but where's the guy? And that's like, I would say almost every woman I work with has that experience. And I hear this very often from them, that men are intimidated by them. And I always ask, do you think that men are intimidated by you, or are your friends just saying that men are intimidated by you? And they're like, oh, my friends are just saying it. So this intimidation thing is a story that we have in our heads. It's something that we've created because we can't figure out why. And we always want to know why. Why didn't that work out, right? Our brain doesn't like for there to be no conclusion, for it to be kind of unsettled. So we always try to form these like whys or the answer to the what ifs so that it feels settled. But then sometimes it ends up feeling settled in a negative way. It ends up deciding that we're intimidating, right? And now what happens when we think we're intimidating is we begin to hold this belief about ourselves that we're intimidating. And now we walk through the world, and every time we interact with men, we are thinking in our heads, oh my God, am I intimidating him right now? And that's how we approach conversations. And then we end up feeling really disconnected with him, or he ends up feeling really disconnected with us, because the energy is just totally off, because we're not really leading with our authentic self. We're leading with this story of, I am intimidating, or he is inevitably going to be intimidated by me, and it's going to be like every other guy.
Where were you years ago? Because I was told that one of the reasons why I couldn't find anybody for myself for a while was because I intimidated guys. I would come to the date, and my story of starting a business and doing all this crazy stuff would push guys away because they felt quote unquote intimidated, yet I never felt like I was an intimidating person. But because of that, I dumbed myself down.
Yes.
So I would go on dates, and if they asked what I did, I would say part of the story. And if they found out what I did, I'd be like, oh, it's no big deal. Like, it's just a business. Or, no, it's not that great. And that was even worse, because then I was just coming to the table as almost like a coward who wasn't confident, and that wasn't attractive. And I found myself believing a story that was, well, nobody's ever going to want to date me because I'm living such a weird, crazy life. But really, I don't really think any of that was true. But you're right. I mean, you start to believe what you hear, especially if what you hear is so foreign and crazy and weird, but then also sort of makes sense. And it's such a shame because, like you said, you shouldn't have to change your story of who you are. You should find a person who isn't intimidated by that, or stop believing that you are.
Yeah. And so what I hear in that story is that there was a fear that you weren't good enough, right?
Correct.
There's a fear that you weren't good enough because You had to dumb yourself down to connect with people, that guys weren't going to like you for who you were. So you had to be someone else. You had to be totally inauthentic to yourself, right? And so then, yeah, whenever there's a fear, like the fear of not being good enough, which is really the fear of worthiness, a fear of rejection, any fear that we hold, it changes our behaviors. So for you, it changed the behavior in I call them blocking behaviors, in that you dumbed yourself down, and that you became inauthentic, and that you tried to be who you thought they wanted you to be instead of being yourself, right?
Yes.
And so then those behaviors totally blocked you from creating any sort of connection and meeting the right person.
Well, I also think it's because a question that a lot of us hear is, why are you still single? Or people who know you are like, I can't believe like you haven't found that person yet. And when they ask you those questions, what are you going to say? Nothing. So you think of an answer and then you believe that answer.
Yes.
I'm still single because I'm so busy. That was my go-to. Was I really that busy? No. I had hours in the day I could have dated, but that was my way of being like, oh, here's my answer, and I'm now going to believe it, so that if I had someone interested in me, I would think, well, you're too busy,
Totally.
And it's a downward spiral of just lies you tell yourself because you're defensive or because you don't get to the root of really what the issue is.
I used to say I was married to my business. Ugh. And that's awful.
It is. Because, like, it's not true. Like, yeah, you could be a workaholic. You could love your business. But, like, that's, like, another one of those cliche lines where it's like,
Yes.
I know.
Who wants to be married to their business? No, your business can be one of the most important things in your life, but you don't want to be married to it. It's not your partner.
There's some cliche quote out there about like how your business will always be there for you, but like a guy won't. Like there is a quote out there like that I've seen, and I'm like, that's like not really true, because there's sometimes my business like stabs me in the back, like it's not. I mean, I think like a main reason I really want to join this podcast too was to remind people like you're not getting any younger, and putting off finding love or even figuring out a reason of how to love yourself and be proud of yourself is so important.
Yes.
Because it is one of the first things that people will forget to do or not take care of, but that's secretly what they want the most.
And that's why that's the place that we start coaching from always, is from within. What is your relationship to yourself? Because I think so often when we hear the word relationship, we think of me and another person. But the truth is that your first relationship, and the one you can never, ever break up with, get rid of, divorce, it's you. And so what does that look like? Like, how are you treating yourself? Are you telling yourself really negative things every day? Are you like verbally abusing yourself? Or are you like treating yourself with love and care and kindness? Or is it something in between, But focusing on that relationship with you and understanding what that looks like, and creating the relationship you want there, giving yourself the thing that you want from a partner, but giving it to yourself, makes it so much easier to attract love. I think so often we use the word find when we talk about dating or a relationship, right? I gotta find someone. And what that is saying is I gotta get them. I gotta grab them. It's like the wrong energy, right? Yeah. Wouldn't it be better if you could just attract the right person? And you can, but you have to have your relationship with yourself so strong, because you can't be attracting if you're not giving yourself all the things you want from a partner first.
I love it, and I really want to get to the worthy one, but I have one more personal question that I have to ask you.
Yes.
The way you met your husband is so freaking cool and fascinating, and I just want you to quickly tell the story of how you and Thomas connected.
Sure. So we met on Twitter. This was 2009, so Twitter was a very different place then. For those of you who weren't on it.
Pre-Donald Trump ran.
Yes. And, people used hashtags. This was before we used hashtags like in pop culture, right? Hashtags like originated on Twitter.
Crazy.
And they were used sort of as categories, like ways that you could search people talking about the same thing, right? So I searched hashtag dating, and I came up with a stream of people, and I noticed Thomas, and I was like, who is that guy? And I clicked on him. I was like, a professional wingman, because that's what he does. And I was like, what is that? And I started reading through his stream, and I just loved everything that he was saying. Like, I thought his advice was really on point, but also I could see like where he was checking in on Foursquare. Yes, Foursquare.
What is that ancient tool that's called Foursquare?
But I could also see like little tweets he said about his dad. And so I just really, I felt like I needed to know him. I had no idea why, but I just needed to know him. And so I retweeted something he said, and he wrote me back. And then I wrote him again, and it just kind of died. So we were in two different cities. I was living in New York. He was living in Boston. And I DM'd him, and I asked next time I was going to Boston, which was like a few weeks later, if he wanted to get together for a drink.
And the rest is history.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy how that happens. It's crazy how you find love yourself, because did you ever think you'd meet the man you'd marry and have a child with on Twitter?
No, but it's like, of course I would. I mean, I wouldn't logically like plan that out. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like I told you, I was always in chat rooms, and like, I don't know, at the time, Twitter was like the new school, like chat rooms, you know?
Crazy how Twitter's evolved, right? I mean, I think it's any place but a loving place now. But so you were known for so many years as being a online dating expert, a love expert. You started eFlirt. You went on to write Love at First Click. You've helped over 150 couples get married that you know of. I have to tell you,
yes.
One of my friends read Love at First Click, and she constantly keeps saying that you are the reason that she got married and found her husband.
Oh, I love that.
So while you think you've helped 150 people, I think it's been a lot more than that. But you recently launched a brand new brand and business called Worthy One. Where did that come from? What sparked that brand new business?
So when I started eFlirt, I was coaching my clients too. And I just kind of found through coaching them that this struggle with like not feeling good enough kept coming up again and again and again for people. And really that fear was the thing that was coming up again and again. But especially I was seeing that people weren't feeling good enough. And, you know, it's what I struggle with, too, when I was single and even still now in life, because it's not just exclusive to relationships, right? So I was seeing myself in all of them. And I have done so much personal work around my own fears. And I started incorporating that work into coaching my clients. And I was just seeing that with eFlirt, 50% of our clients were in relationships at the end of our service, and it was always the clients who had done the coaching. So I just started to realize that coaching was actually the thing, and working through themselves in this way, evolving, was really the thing that had helped them meet the right person, not, you know, that we had sent the right message for them. So I... for the last 2 years, I've really been, we shut down the service, the one-on-one personal service we used to do for eFlirt. And I just focused on coaching my clients in this way. And I launched a program called Abundant Love, because I think that part of the problem is that we think of love as something that's scarce. Like, we're like, there's not enough men out there. There's no good ones left. Like,
because people say that. Like,
yes.
I can't tell you how many people have told me, hurry up, because all of the good guys are going to be married by the time you're 30.
Or even the idea that time matters, right? I mean, we just live so in scarcity when it comes to dating, that there's like, that we don't want to go on bad dates. I mean, there's so much of it. And so, but shouldn't we be living in abundance, right? Not just in, I think often we think of abundance in relation to like money and our finances, but shouldn't we be living in abundance and love too?
Yes.
Like, isn't that the exact place where you should be living in the most abundance?
Yes.
So I created this program, Abundant Love, which I've been doing for a year now too. And it just started to feel like this was something different than eFlirt. It just started to feel like eFlirt should still be the place for people to go to get online dating help. And now we have courses there that you can get help with, your profile, your photos, all of that stuff that I think is still important to know. But also it's really important for us to kind of remove these fears and for us to feel worthy, because when we feel worthy, we're not settling. When we feel worthy, we're just so in our power. And for my clients, that happens when they're in their power in that way and they stop telling themselves these stories and they're able to make these breakthroughs. It changes their whole life, not just connecting with the right person. But I've had one of my clients is going to be a Miss America. Like she didn't think she was good enough, and it was very physical for her. It was her body, it was her body image, and it was very edgy for her to do the pageant in her town, but it had been like a dream she'd always wanted to do. And now she's going to be a Miss America, you guys.
That's wild.
I've had clients who completely changed careers because they realized how unhappy they were. I've had clients who like bought homes. So it's just, this is the evolution of me, not just my business. And it's amazing that to see that even some of the same clients from eFlirt have come along for their ride on the Worthy One and totally up-leveled and changed their lives. It's just so amazing to see that journey, but also all the new faces that are joining too.
When you launched the Worthy One and I was on the website, I'm reading through it and I'm just like, yes, thank you so much for starting a business like this, because I really don't think there's anybody out there who doesn't at some point in their life, in their week, in their day, think to themselves, I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. And when those thoughts happen, it's very, very hard to get over them yourself. Talking to someone like you, working through your courses, I think is so important for people, especially who can't get out of their own head. One of the things on your website that screams at me when I read it is, and it's in, I think it might be in bold letters or it's just big. It says, you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I think that we have this story that we're the problem, right? It's like you are the reason that you're still single, or you, like you must be doing something wrong and that's why you're still single. Or even you could apply that to any other area of life. Like you're the reason you're not getting a new job or a promotion. Like it's you. Like you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not whatever enough, right? And so but that's not true, right? It's a story that we have about ourselves, but you're not the reason. Like maybe all your friends found love in college and you didn't. That doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you missed your window, right? I have a decent amount of clients who are actually in their 40s and 50s. And some of them have never been married, and this story is really strong for them. They're like, I must be the problem because I am 45 now, and how have I not met the right person at this age? And I'm like, listen, your friends who met in college, like that's great for them, and they met someone that they connected with in that time in their life, and like hopefully that will remain, right? Like Thomas and I met in our 20s, and I hope that this will always remain for us too. And so far it has. We've been able to grow together. But you now at 45 get to connect with someone who is like such a deep connection for you at this age, at this time in your life. And that's just a very different thing. So it's not that you did anything wrong not meeting someone in your 20s. Maybe that wasn't what you were meant to be, because maybe you were meant to connect with someone in a totally different way than you would have then.
It's refreshing to hear, because literally all of my friends got engaged at 23, 24, 25. The last thing I was thinking about was being in a relationship. But I started to really think that maybe I did things wrong, or that, again, I wasn't good enough, because they all met their spouses when they were in their early 20s. And, I definitely started to believe that. I think in some of my early relationships, I felt like I was settling with that person because who else would want me? Mm-hmm. And I was getting older. I was, all of this, and who else would want all of this person? so you stick around. And when that person leaves because they acknowledge this isn't good, it's very, very hard for you to think that you're worthy of a better person. Even when I started dating my boyfriend now, this is a true story. The day he told me he loved me, I looked him in the eye and said, I don't think you should say that because you don't know me. And once you get to know me, you're not going to say that. And he, first of all, God bless his soul for like pushing that off and staying with me. But he was like, no, I think I know you and I think I love you. And I was like, no. Like, I'm
trying to convince him.
I'm like, I'm positive that I have, my story that I created was that I'm not this, or this, and I'm not worthy of this wonderful guy's love. And I literally said that to him because that's what I was carrying around with me. And it's a crazy, crazy thing that we think in our heads about ourselves.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. Wow. Does it show up in your relationship at all now?
Oh my God, no. Now I'm like, thank you. Like, you know me pretty well and you're still here, so thank you. But
Good.
I think I was so scared that here was this guy who, of course, isn't perfect, but was better than anything else I've ever dated, which also probably coincided with the fact that I was the best version of myself when we met, telling me that he loved me. And I thought, this could not be happening. You know, like, I do not deserve quote unquote perfect. I deserve a train wreck. So I think like finding love and having then to convince myself that, you know, he really does like me and I'm the reason why I probably don't like myself, you know, was a very, very weird and interesting time in that relationship, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I really think that the stories we tell ourselves haunt us. How do you combat that I'm not good enough story?
Mm-hmm. The best, if you can do it. But I'm going to share that I have clients who will say they're going to do this and then they don't because it gets so hard. It's confronting to do this exercise, but it is the best thing you can do for yourself ever. So all of these things are thoughts, right? They're like things that live in our heads, things that we tell ourselves every day. So the most effective way is to notice our thoughts, right? We have to notice them and what's there before we can change it, before we can believe anything different. So take 24 hours, open up your notes app, and every time you think about something about yourself, write it down. You're going to see a lot of shit that you're like not very proud of. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I want to stop right now. It's only noon and I'm like so depressed already by seeing that I say all these things, right? But keep going because this is just what you believe now. But you can create new beliefs. So at the end of the day, you're going to shift all of that language and you're going to change the belief. So it would be easy for you to say, I think this is how we would otherwise think of this exercise is like, okay, well, I'm telling myself like, you're the fattest person on the planet. And now you're like, I'm so skinny and like everyone's attracted to me. And maybe that's not something you would believe. So don't make that your new belief. Your new belief might be like, I'm exactly where I need to be right now, or I'm healthy, or whatever it is that you really believe about yourself. And then tomorrow morning and for the next however long, wake up and read all those new things, all those things that are true about you still, but are a little more amazing and a little less damaging, right? And then you start to live into those things. You'll notice that you might start to slip back into some of the old things, old ways of saying, the old truths, if you will. But when you start the day by saying the new things, you catch yourself. You're like, oh, nope, I'm not fat. I'm healthy, right? And so really what this is, it's like the most intense emotional version of self-care, right? We think of self-care like, I'm going to go get my nails done and my hair done and I'm going to do a face mask. And that is physical self-care and that matters too. But this is emotional self-care, which actually matters the most of all the ways you can care for yourself. And then over time, you can up-level these things. You know, maybe one day you will believe you're the skinniest and the most attractive.
You are like a more fun, cooler therapist Like, no joke. I feel like if I worked with you, I'd get more out of one session with you than like 10 with a therapist who's like, so tell me about your childhood, where you're like, all right, do this in 24 hours. And I think it's so practical. Like, I'm sitting here thinking of all the mean things I say to myself now. Like, I'm going to do this exercise. I'm going to post it for people. And show like all of these crazy things we think about ourselves and we believe. And it's so limiting and it's so awful. Another thing on your website that was screaming at me was that you can control the timing of when you'll meet someone. What do you mean by that?
So, we have such an attachment to time when it comes to relationships. We're like, I'm getting old. I'm not getting any younger. Oh my God, I'm getting older. Like I have had people come to me and be like, so I want to meet the man of my dreams in 2 months. How do I do that?
Stop.
Yeah. They're like, I've decided I'm going to meet him by Christmas. So what? And I'm like, okay, well, you cannot plan this, right? You cannot plan this. So we have to, one of the things that I make all my clients agree to is that time doesn't matter. It's a very hard agreement for them to make. But we can't let time be the thing that matters. We need to, like, what matters is that you meet the right person, not when you meet the right person. What matters is that you fall in love, not that you settle. When you let time lead, you lead with all the wrong things. And so, but though they release time, a lot of them find relationships much quicker.
Yeah.
And it's part of it is because they're releasing that, they're deciding that time doesn't matter. And so they're forgetting about it and they're not putting the pressure on themselves that they otherwise did before. And also part of it is because they're focusing on their relationship with themselves. And so they move into what I call attraction mode. And then it just happens. So in my program, Abundant Love, 50% of the women end up in relationships, and I'd say probably 50% of the 50, so 25% total, it will happen for them in like the first 2 weeks. It will be like the guy shows up and it, over the course of time, it ends up being their next committed relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fascinating and amazing. And it just goes to show how much self-care leads to all of these things, but it's such an absent thing in so many people's minds. When you say finding the right person or being with the right person, is there a simple way that you feel a person should know if it's right or wrong? Because honestly, that's something that I struggle with. I think that I'm not smart about knowing that. I don't think it necessarily screams at me right versus wrong. I think I see a wrong and I'm like, well, let's see if it ever moves to the right category.
Yeah. I'm coaching a client around this now. I'm not surprised to hear you say that because I think that noticing the right is challenging because we've only known the wrong. Or we've known the not right. Maybe it hasn't been wrong, but it has not been right. And now we're saying yes to maybe. We're doing all these things that are a little outside of our comfort zone. And so it's not familiar. Like there is nothing familiar about lifelong love, right? Like there's always a like, but is the other shoe gonna drop? And then when you finally get over that and you're like, it's not gonna drop, now is this the right decision for me, right? So it's a process, I think, of, we learn from the movies. The thing that screws us up the most, I think, are like rom-coms, even though I love them, and Disney movies, that like we just know. It's just this magical knowing. And our intuition does play a role. And that's when I think of a knowing, I think of our intuition. And I work with a lot of my clients on tapping into our intuition. But I think that also it is not this magical experience that we think it is. It's more of a process.
I love that. Who is the worthy one for?
The worthy one is for any woman who feels like she's not good enough, especially in relationships. But I have women in the worthy one community who are married. So it doesn't just need to be for you if you're single. But yeah, it's really for anyone who's ready to feel worthy and to stop telling themselves all these stories.
One of the things I did was,
And it's for women. Sorry, guys.
yeah, I was going to ask you. I was like looking on the website. I'm like, is there one for men?
There's not. Well, my husband. So now I used to work with men and women, and for eFlirt, men and women, totally cool for everyone. But now I only coach with women. And so the only one way I coach men is in Thomas's program. He has a program called Fearless Dating, and it's so fun for me because it's like all of these men and then Thomas and me. So I'm the only woman. And it's so cool because even when I coached men one-on-one, they would not say these things. Like I get to hear such real talk from these guys of what they're going through. And it's cool because I share with them what like women are telling me and what's really going on with women. But then I also go back to the women and I share with them like things that they, like misconceptions that they have about men too. So it's interesting to be able to inform both groups about what the other is going through.
I love that. They need to do a reality show on you and Thomas because the amount of knowledge both of you could bring to the table would kick any of these other dating reality shows out of the water. I mean, it's just crazy. I would be the first to watch that. So anyone listening can make a reality show. I think you have two people right here who would do a great job with that. One of the terrible conversations I had with my boyfriend last night was that we were with one of my friends and she was talking about how she asked her husband what he imagined the woman he was going to marry would be like. And he answered and it was nothing like her and she laughed it off. On the walk home when I was one-on-one with my boyfriend, I said to you, what did you think your dream girl would be like? Mm-hmm. And of course, listening to his answers, I was not offended, but measuring myself up to that. And it was like the worst question you could ask. And while I think I did meet a lot of the requirements, the only one I don't think I met was he wanted someone athletic. Whatever. But you know what? I was like thinking today how bad of a question that was for me to ask and how it made me feel kind of awful. And when I was, researching you, I started to think, you know what, Jen? Another question you should ask yourself is, what are you worthy of? Mm-hmm. So I wrote down what I think I'm worthy of. Oh. I think I'm worthy of someone who is forgiving, understanding, loyal, thoughtful, laughs at my jokes because I want to think I'm funny, encouraging, and finally, this has been, I think, the biggest thing, is someone who fights for me because I fight for the other person. So that's what I wrote down that I think I'm worthy of, but I wanted to know if you could share what you think you are worthy of, or what you know you are worthy of.
Oh, I love that. So I think of it a little differently than you do. I think part of the reason I named my company The Worthy One is because we are the worthy ones. Ooh. So yes, we deserve a worthy one too, right? But you're worthy.
I like that even better.
Yeah, so it's not just, so I'm wondering from you, not just what are you worthy of, but what makes you feel worthy?
I think because of all of those things I said, like I think that I am loyal and I am understanding and I am forgiving and I laugh at everyone's jokes and I, will fight for a person if they matter to me, and that I think that deep down I really, if I love a person, I will never ever let them go, like I will always be there for them. So I think all of those things I projected and what I wanted in a person came from me doing this exercise thinking, well, what kind of person are you?
I love that. Because you know what, Jen? This is abundance. The idea of abundance is that we are in the cycle of giving and receiving, right? That it is just endless. And this is why I always say, like, what can you give yourself that you want in a partner so that then that's what you receive? Because I think so often we give a lot, but we're not necessarily receiving. And what I hear from you is that you are worthy of receiving the same things that you give, right? And that is abundance right there.
But what is wild is that I am almost 30 and I have never, ever, ever taken the time to think about that until today. I have never sat down and written myself a list. I've never sat down and thought about what I am or what I deserve or the characteristics I know that I totally embody. So it's something that people should do.
Yes.
Completely. And it's something that people should learn more about, especially if they feel really lost and feel really down on themselves.
And I love this idea of if you make the list and you notice that there's things on there that you want, but you aren't giving yourself, then how can you create that reality?
So true. That is so true. Well, thank you so much. The last thing I want to do with you is a lightning round.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. Answer them however you would like. When you were a kid, what did you think you would grow up to become?
An actress.
Ooh, what kind of actress?
Probably as I got a little older, musical theater, because that's what I was super into.
I could totally see you on the big screen. What's your dream job now?
Exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
What advice would you give Laurie at age 22 when she graduated from college?
I didn't graduate from college,
Nice.
actually. But at age 22, I would say, I know I'm supposed to be lightning. What would I say? I guess I'd tell her that there's more for her and to not worry so much, you know?
What was the reason why you didn't graduate from college?
I just started living life.
All about that. I don't even think people need to go to college, so I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What advice would you give yourself today that you wish you could actually follow through and listen to?
I wish I could I tell myself, and I wish I could follow through more on like being more of a chill mom.
That's like a really, really hard thing to do,
know.
I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Who are chill moms? Like, what do chill moms do?
I guess chill moms just like worry less. So it's the same advice I would give myself at 22 that I would still give myself today. Different context.
I feel like you should move a couple miles down to Venice because all the moms there are so chill. They're like, my child and the beach. And
I always think I'm being really chill. And then I tell Thomas and he's like, no, you're not. I'm like, what do you mean? Because it will come up in conversation. I'll be like, yeah, I'm just pretty relaxed. And he's like, no, you're not. You're not relaxed at all. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's good that you have an honest person to be like, all right, that chill thing hasn't happened yet. What's the best advice anyone has ever given you?
My grandfather used to say that your first deal is your best deal.
Ooh.
And I think that that's really excellent business advice. It's probably even excellent advice in relationships too, if you think about it, like the way that you start. A relationship can grow, but if the way that you're connecting isn't good from the start, then it's not a good deal. But I think about it mostly when I think about business and, think about like, I know you and I don't have traditional jobs, but if you were to, if you have a salaried position, like the first deal that you get, you can only get a raise like on a certain percentage every year. So, but I do think it's even still true for us in how we deal with our clients or how we deal with brands when we work with them, that your first deal is always your best deal. So you gotta really, I think what he was trying to say is protect yourself. Yeah.
I love it. What's the number one thing you feel an urgent desire to accomplish in 2018?
I feel an urgent desire to grow the Worthy One community. So, as you guys have probably gathered from listening, the Worthy One, I'm a love coach and I coach clients there. And I have a program called Abundant Love, but I also coach them privately. But I also have a community of women that's free to join for anyone. And that is something I'm so, so passionate about growing. So yeah, that definitely in 2018 is going to be a big focus of mine.
And where can people find that group?
They can find it on Facebook. But also if you go to our website, you can find it from there too.
Okay, this is a tough one, but what is your number one moment of failure?
What is my number one moment of failure? I don't know. I guess dropping out of college felt a bit like failure, even though it was my choice and my decision. I still have, I don't think I've ever shared this before, but I still have, I took incompletes that semester and I never finished them. So I definitely failed some courses.
Any courses that you're proud that you failed?
Definitely have Fs. No, one was a psych class. I would have loved it now, you know what I mean? But I definitely have actually failed an entire semester because I was so overwhelmed. I was actually at that point in life, I was in a relationship with a catfisher. We didn't know, there was no word for it then. Nobody knew that this was like a thing. And because I don't know, this was what, 2010 or something? No, way before. Wait, 2003 or something.
And
it was
you
like
met this person online?
Yeah, I met them online. I met them in an AOL chat room. And so anyways, we were so on again, off again. I mean, it was a very emotional time in my life.
But you never met?
No, we never met. But we were so emotionally involved. I still have not met him. It might be a girl. I have no idea. I've totally thought those things. Everything that you see on the show, if you've ever watched the show on MTV, like I've thought all those things before.
Would you ever find this person and meet them, or are you so over it?
No, I'm definitely over it.
I would love for you to just meet them and like, you know?
Sometimes I wonder if I already have. Like
Can
if
you
it's
imagine
someone,
like your next door neighbor.
Well, because I had met supposedly like some people in his life, like his cousin, his best friend, like, and I wonder if it was one of them. And the voice didn't sound similar, but I don't know. There's part of me that wonders if, like, I was in his social circle. This is what's so crazy about it, is that like that's different than the show. Is that like I had points of physical connection with him in that I would like go to, I was doing musical theater, right? So I would like go to the theater and I would, we would be like supposed to meet on my break, right? And I would go outside and on my car there would be like a letter or a gift or like things for me. So I kept telling myself like, you can't be crazy. Like there's like stuff here. So
you lived in the same city as him.
Yeah.
Why did it never happen? Like, why did you never meet?
There were always these excuses, like, and he supposedly had all these medical problems, so it was just like, yeah, like he was like, oh, like, I have to go to the hospital. Like, how can I be a dick as a girlfriend and be like, no, you don't. I don't believe you.
Right, like, don't go to the hospital. Come here.
Even though in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't believe you, you know? But this was the lowest point of me feeling worthy, is that I really settled for 2 years in a relationship like this.
Did you tell anybody that you were in this relationship?
Yeah, but I definitely hid the fact that I never met him. From people, because I was so ashamed that I was like settling for this.
How did you call it off? How did you get out of it?
Like I said, we were on again, off again. And like the height of us being on again, off again, and like it being very tumultuous was when I dropped out of school. And so that was definitely like, it's interesting that it's funny, this lightning round, because if someone were to ask me what my biggest failure was, I'm sure I would have come up with some like business failure, but here I am coming up with some like relationship failure, ultimately like quote unquote failure,
Mm-hmm.
right? But yeah, we were super on again, off again, and it just caused me so much emotional distress that I just couldn't do school anymore. And so I like, even there was a point in time where I was just so like, I need to meet you, that I was going to such great lengths that he was like, I'm in the hospital. And I drove from Massachusetts to Connecticut in the middle of the night to like go to the hospital. And I went to the hospital, and of course, like they didn't have anyone under that name. And I'm like, he called me and he was like, I'm in the hospital. And I stayed on the phone with him the whole time so that I like wouldn't lose him. So he couldn't be like, oh, I moved. Because I knew he would do that, because he always did that.
So what happened when you got there? He wasn't there.
But of course, no, because like, remember, cell service way back then was so
You had like the decade stacked against you. Like, if it was 2018, you would have easily like went on a Snapchat and found them.
Or Googled. We didn't have Google then. So yeah, so I lost service at some point from Massachusetts to Connecticut. I don't know, it was like a 3-hour drive or something. And then he was like, oh, I'm at Mass General. So then I like started driving back. And then he was like, but I'm being just discharged soon. So like, don't come here. Because whoever it was, he, she, whatever, probably felt terrible that I drove all the way to Connecticut. But then the relationship continued after that.
The thing is, I don't judge you. I don't blame you. I, in a weird way, get it completely. But it's just like, my only thing is, like, I want to know who it is so bad. You know, like, that's the only thing I would want, is just for that person to come forward and, like, because they probably knew who you were, saw what you looked like, because they were so on the outside of it, you know?
And I think the reason why I don't, like, I mean, if they were to come forward and, like, introduce themselves to me, like, totally fine with meeting that person. But I think the reason why I don't have a desire to seek it out myself is because I spend so much energy, so much heart, so much effort into that relationship that it's just, that's not who I am today.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm worthy of way more than that.
Beyond.
Yeah.
Beyond. But that is like the most fascinating answer to that question I've ever heard in my life. So fill in the blank for this last one. You're not getting any younger, so...
what are you waiting for?
I love it.
Yeah.
Tell people where they can find you, where they can find The Worthy One.
Yeah, so you can go to theworthyone.com. Or if you need online dating help, you can go to eflirtexpert.com. Those are my 2 websites. And then I'm on social everywhere, usually as Laurie Davis Edwards. So Instagram, Facebook, wherever you are, that's where I am.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laurie. Hey, you. Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.